What's up, everyone? This is Ethan Delves with What's the Res, and today we're going to be doing just a conversational interview sort of episode with my friends Ruth Patterson and Nate Privet. Did I say that right? Both of those names?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect. So they're two debaters in Texas, and they're at a couple of different points in their debate journey, if you want to call it that. But today we're just going to be learning a little bit about debate and how it works in Texas, a couple of their favorite stories and resolutions and tournaments. So thank you guys for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
No problem.
So if you guys want to start, Ruth, we'll start with you. Just tell me a little bit about your debate background, what things you've done, what styles are your favorite, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I started last year. This is my second year. I'm in first year in varsity. So I started in PF, actually. I never actually went to a PF tournament. I did research for PF for about a month before our coach was like, nah, I can coach policy better. Policy will just work better. I think you'd be better at policy. And I was really hesitant to try it because all I knew about it was that policy was the one that was fast and PF was the one that wasn't. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. But I ended up really liking it, and it really just drew me in. And it was the immigration topic, and I really, really liked the topic. I really liked the educational aspects of it. I thought it was just amazing. And so I didn't go to a whole lot of tournaments last year, but I somehow made it to the National Catholic Forensics League Nationals. Didn't break or anything, but that's okay. Got some good experience. And so this is my first year in varsity, making it work, having a good time, seeing what works.
That's cool. What about you, Nate?
All right, so I did 2 years ago, I did a full season of PF in National Catholic Forensics League, NCFL, with a partner of mine, Bryson. He and I did, so we got to nationals, but that's not necessarily because of us per se, but because we had so little competition in our district.
Really?
Yeah, there was in the district tournament, there were, I think it was like 6 teams in total.
Wow.
And our school was all of them but one.
Oh man.
But it was still a really good experience with that. So then last year, I was going to do LD, Lincoln Douglas, but a coach said that PF was kind of what was going to be their main focus. So LD got put in the back burner, eventually was just dropped, so didn't do debate last year. But this year, I am starting my first season in PF, have gone to a few tournaments now. Did one tournament, my first tournament, with her in open, and the rest of them have been in novice, and it's been really fun. Really enjoyed the competition as well as speed. Yeah, that's been a fun skill to develop and to learn.
So you like talking fast?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you know how to spread yet?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Spreading has been fun.
Because I know Ruth was saying that she wanted to do policy, which is the fast form. And when I look at debate, since I do LD, and she said that public forum was a little bit slower, I think public forum is like really fast, and then LD is like the slow one. So it's a lot different for me. Yeah, or at least the LD debates I've had. Public forum is a lot faster in those rounds because I've also done PF like a little bit earlier in 9th grade. But yeah. I just think that's funny that we all have like different views on that because we actually have no policy debaters as of now in our team. How exactly big is your team?
Well, we have 2 varsity teams as of now and 4 novice teams in policy.
Okay,
and
policy.
Yeah, 2 varsity teams and 4 novice teams. So it's small. But it's of a good size for a school that has a student body of about 200.
Wow. That's actually really good because we have a student body of like, I think it's 500 to 600, something like that. But we have way fewer debaters than you guys. So you like a debate-oriented school?
I think not really. But I think that our coach has been really good at marketing it to younger students and finding a little niche of policy that all the younger students can can gravitate towards. Like, do you like arguing? Do you like research? Do you like speaking or performance? Because I think there's something in debate that's for everybody. So I think our coach has been really good at marketing it and just really applying it to the student body and seeing what people are interested in and coercing them to join the team.
Yeah. No, I definitely know how that is. My coach tries to market debate a lot, and we have, like, whenever the clubs are just all set up and sharing what they're all about, we have a debate stand, and we have people work on the poster and everything. And, okay, so you have, at least for a small school, you have a decent amount of people in debate. So for all of the tournaments that you've gone to, do you have, like, a favorite resolution, or both of you could share your favorite resolution or topic? Because I know you said the immigration one you were interested in. You like that one a lot. Even though, was that just the one that you just researched, or do you debate that one as well?
The immigration topic was last season. This season is the arms sales topic.
Okay.
So I have to say that the immigration topic is my favorite of the two.
Okay.
I really like a more ethical style to debate. Obviously, policy is very policy oriented, and it's there in the name.
I'm surprised you don't do LD if you're about the ethics too.
Yeah, well, I really liked last year's topic because there were so many things you could do with it. Obviously, legal immigration is a really, really big, hot topic. And I liked all the ethical questions. I liked all the more philosophical questions you could get into. There's definitely some with this topic as well. But like last season, we ran a FemK for part of the season, and that was really, really interesting and just a great experience for me to be able to delve into that literature and how it interacted with the topic was something that I just really enjoyed.
Nice.
And so I have to say that topic out of the two that I've researched and debated on is my favorite.
Okay.
But I do like the arms sales topic. I think they're giving me two different windows into debate, a more K approach and then a more traditional approach.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite of the two, traditional or progressive?
I have to say it's definitely progressive.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a fan of progressive debate. Traditional debate definitely has its merits, and I don't think it's something that should be forgotten or moved away from, because I think it's really important, and it's part of what makes debate such an important educational activity that I think so many more people should at least try or become aware of. But I think progressive debate also is something that's extremely educational. I think it's something that's really important for people to at least try or at least understand, because I think it provides a really great window into how we should approach policy-oriented debate with more of an ethical framework, how we should evaluate issues, and how we should evaluate how we talk about and think about issues. So I think it's a very valuable window into traditional debate and how we think about traditional debate. Okay.
And Nate, what about you? Do you like progressive or traditional more?
So I've been mostly introduced to progressive debate because she really enjoys it, and she's a big part of the research team and focusing on what we get done. So I've been introduced a lot more to K's, and like right now I'm working on writing a neocolonialism K, and so I have a disposition towards that just because I've done more of that. But I do enjoy both policy and progressive. I like the. I mean, I wanted to do LD before, and it just kind of was put on the back burner because he wanted to focus on policy. So being like shown a part of policy that is really into the ethics of it is fun, because it's both the team format of it and also the ethics, which I really enjoy. So I'd probably have to agree with Ruth.
Okay.
K's progressive debate. It's just also it's kind of just gets wacky sometimes, and that can get fun. Very hectic, but that can be fun at times. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you guys have like a team that's specifically designated for research only, and then you have the debaters that kind of like assimilate all that research, or do you all do research for different things and take your cases to tournament?
We pretty much all do research some people definitely do more research than others, but that's just how
it works in anything, honestly.
Works. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think we try to split the research burden pretty evenly and try to, the novices, they're learning how to do research, cut cards, everything like that. I think, it's a pretty even distribution of the burden, I guess.
Okay. Nate, would you agree with that? It's just like everyone kind of does their own research.
Well, I think so. She's made sure that everyone has like some research to do. So I don't think it's everyone does their own research, but kind of like everyone does collectively. Everyone has either been assigned or is doing research somewhere, kind of for the betterment of the team. Whatever needs done, we'll either someone will step up or we'll get someone to do research for that.
Because I know
it's a very
we have a couple of teams in North Carolina. Like we have this one massive school. It's called Carey Academy. And they have like everybody in a specific style of debate runs the exact same case. And then they all like combine all of their research and put it into those two cases. So do you guys all run different cases or the same cases?
We try to run the same cases, or at least cases that we can all contribute to. There's definitely some arguments that people in varsity run that people in novice won't run, just because maybe the skill level that it requires is a little bit different. But I think we try to make try to put the work effort into a more of a collective system, so it's not just dispersed everywhere. It's more efficient.
And in the leagues that you guys are involved in, do the novice and varsity have the same resolution?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that all the leagues you participate in, or are you also NSDA or anything like national like that?
So far this year, we've done just TFA tournaments, I believe, in which TFA and NSDA have a little bit of overlap. Like TFA is, I don't know if it's under the purview of NSDA. I don't think it is. Okay. But I know that NSDA recognizes those tournaments and will give you points and can help you move along. And through TFA tournaments. So, under TFA, the novices and the varsity competitors have the same resolution. I don't know if it's that way in other styles, but I know that in policy, that's how it works.
Okay. It's because I know for LD and Public Forum in North Carolina, we have this one league called Dogwood, and then we have NSDA, and we have this also like this internal league where the resolution is the same. It's really new and just kind of growing, but usually the resolutions are different. So I think that's interesting for your leagues how they're actually the same, because does that help your team as far as varsity members helping novice members and kind of like growing that experience a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really useful, especially in practice rounds and things like that. If the novices maybe are able to do research or debate somebody in varsity that is using the same resolution, I think it's useful just for teaching and research. I think it's nicely organized. Okay. But that's really interesting. I didn't know different leagues had different resolutions.
Oh, yeah. Like NSDA, the nationals was about like violent revolution. Dogwood will use the NSDA resolutions, but we have this other league called we call it like the Coolidge Debate League. We're partnered, or the founder of our schools is partnered with the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Foundation, which is just in remembrance of Calvin Coolidge, and they have a whole debate program, and they hold a national tournament called the Coolidge Cup. Have you heard of it? Or
I have heard of it, but I'm not super familiar with it.
Yeah. So basically, like, they have all of the really big circuit tournaments around the nation are qualifying tournaments. So if you win that, the Coolidge Cup will pay for you to fly to Vermont and debate in the national tournament. So it's really fun. I've done it a couple times, but their resolutions are different than NSDA and Dogwood. So they'll completely flip the script. It usually has something to do with current events. Like we actually did have an immigration topic one time. We talked about school vouchers, stuff like that. What I really want to see, I'm so hyped for a gun control debate. I don't know about you guys, but are you like waiting and anticipating that, or is that just me?
I think that would be a really interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, it is literally all over the media right now, and I've been studying up because I sense it coming. But Nate, I also want to know your favorite resolution. I forgot to ask. So what's your favorite one that you've debated, novice, varsity, anything?
So in PF, we had one on sanctuary cities, kind of similar to just like a generic immigration topic, but it was focusing on the legality of sanctuary cities. And that one I really enjoyed because, so of course, in Texas, there are people that are very opinionated on sanctuary cities and immigration and that topic in general. So it was fun doing research and getting to see, I guess, a more full understanding of the topic.
Okay.
So that I think that one in PF, my first year, was my favorite, just because it relates to me to what this environment that I'm in so much that it was really fun to debate that and learn more about that. So yeah.
Okay, because I know how that feels as well, because the Coolidge Foundation, since they make resolutions that are related to North Carolina, or at least sometimes, like when they come to North Carolina and host tournaments there. Yeah. The last one was about tax incentives, I think, and it was specifically North Carolina tax incentives. So I learned. I'm not going to say it was the most fun thing to research, because it wasn't, but I learned a lot about the North Carolina tax code, man, more than I need to know, but it was still a fun debate. So what do you guys make of the current political environment? Because, I mean, things are getting kind of crazy now, so I wanted to hear about your views on that. What do you think of that?
So I think my views on the political climate is, I think it's just everything's been radicalized, and not a whole lot of things have been radicalized, and that's been kind of one of my biggest issues, because government, you have the two-party system that's inevitable, that's going to happen, but the way that it's kind of played out as of now is that discussion, like legitimate discussion that gives progress, is so rare and hard to find. So like one of the Democratic candidates, Yang, he's one of my favorite candidates, not necessarily even because of what he believes, but just because he's not out hate mongering against all the rest of the candidates, is that he's seeking at least some form of civil discussion. And so that's been one of he's been one of the great I guess beacons of hope in politics for me, looking at that, because there's so few people like that.
And it's interesting how the ones who get like the best ratings, and I guess that's a weird way of putting it, are the ones who don't have those characteristics. Because I think after the whole impeachment deal, Elizabeth Warren is currently at the top, and she's like the number one contender. But I would argue I watched like 1.5 of the Democratic debate, so not the full 2. But from what I can tell, she's way less inclined to talk about things like Yang is. I'm sure you would agree. Yeah. What do you think, Ruth? What do you make of the current political climate?
I definitely think that there is some merit in the idea that everything's been radicalized. And like what Nate was saying, I also really like Yang. Do I disagree with some of his policies? Yeah, for sure. But I really like how he approaches the political climate and how he approaches being a candidate, and discussion and other candidates, I think, is really respectful, and it's something that is really severely missing from the political climate as a whole. Everything has become a partisan issue, and it seems like there's no reconciliation to be made on a lot of really important topics that reconciliation is required for. But I actually think debate has been kind of helpful for that, just being able to do research. And obviously you have to be asked sometimes, you have to be negged sometimes. So you're required to look at both sides of an issue. You're required to take more than one stance. You're required to take multiple stances on an issue. You know, one round you'll be arguing arms sales to Saudi Arabia are bad, and then one round you'll be arguing arms sales to Saudi Arabia actually aren't as bad as AF would have you believe. So I think debate and researching the way that debate requires you to has been really helpful for getting a more universal picture on issues that's not just specific, that's not strictly informed by one stance on an issue. I think that's been really helpful.
Okay.
I think debate has just given me a more nuanced approach to how I think about ideas and how I think about issues that are important currently.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, like how debate relates to that. But I'm just like sitting here, I'm seeing my microphone, just imagining people listening to this. Like, do you hear this? Like, debate is essential. Like, you need to be able to do your research.
Yeah.
And when I see videos of people like doing Q&As with all the different politicians, like, and asking them about how they feel about certain things or raising concerns. I just watched one yesterday. I was sitting in bed. It was like 10:30, and I watched this video of this woman standing up and talking to AOC about how we need to start eating babies to eliminate CO2. And AOC,
Yikes.
look, I saw the look on her face too, because like she wants to hold that we have to do something about climate change. She doesn't want to eat children, so she's sitting there and she's like, "I share your concern, man. Luckily, we have more than 3 months." So yeah, I just thought that was funny. But yeah, I completely agree with you guys, and I think that debate is an important. I would almost call it like a grassroots approach. Like, look, I mean, we're in high school. You guys might want to do debate in college. I'm hoping to do debate in college if I can make a college team. Yeah. And I think it's important for a lot of people our age and as we get older to just have the ability to do research and articulate ideas effectively with actual evidence behind them. And I think that's literally the number one thing that our political environment and just our nation in general needs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, go for
talking
it.
about how to fix the society. You've got so many different people that have I guess have their different ideas, but the majority of them all start with you need to educate the people that will be ruling the country in 40 years and 30 years and the next generation, because so many once you get out of your development stage, educationally speaking, you kind of get set into your roots. So it's important for people that are younger, that are growing and still developing their beliefs, to actually look at every side. Because specifically on the sanctuary city argument, when I started my research into that, I thought that it was 100% illegal for a municipality to not aid the federal government in enforcing federal rule. But then you look into it, and there are court cases. What was it? It was during the Civil War, with the North not wanting to help enforce the Fugitive Slave Act, and how the Supreme Court found that to be completely constitutional, and how there's precedent for that. That is completely okay to do for a sanctuary city to exist, because the municipalities don't have to aid the federal government in enforcing federal rule. And so it's been so helpful in that topic, and in the arms sales topics, and in just doing some minor research for other topics to figure out what the truth of the situation actually is, and being able to change my beliefs and I mean, either change my beliefs or get even more securely rooted through evidence in the beliefs that I hold, and being able to understand situations to the fullest. That's such an important thing for everyone to know to some extent.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that it's not even like we're being educated on these topics. We're educating each other, and we're also educating ourselves. So like that, and that's a whole nother level too, because we recognize that this nation honestly needs help because everything's radicalized. We can't have conversations. Like, literally, politics is like watching a sports game now, because you have rallies.
Did you see some of the advertisements for the 2016 presidential debates between Hillary and Trump? It was they were advertising for a boxing match.
Dude, exactly. It's like an intellectual boxing match, and not even that, because like then you just have people roasting each other. No. And I also saw like these. I went to DC a while ago, not for anything political, just because my sister wanted to watch a Shawn Mendes concert. But I saw a protest outside the White House, and there were just signs lined up everywhere on the floor. There were people like singing songs against Trump. Like they had these down. This was like church gospels, like stuff. Like everyone knew the words. Everyone knew the words. Everyone was just singing. And then this lady had the microphone. She's like, "All right, we're gonna sing this one next." Like it was just some kind of like I don't even know. It was just hilarious. And I took pictures of a couple of them, but they were, I don't know, like. This is way too much of a sports game. Like, there's T-shirts and hats and like stickers and everything. Like, I see more like Democrat and Republican stickers than I do like NFL or I don't know, like any other type of stickers on people's cars and whatever. But yeah, I think it's really valuable that we're educating ourselves in these topics. And on a complete side note, I'm looking at myself in the camera right now, and I'm just a dark figure. Like for everyone,
So
for everyone listening right now,
you keep fading in and out between being like a dark specter and then being normal and then dark specter. Yeah,
I know
it's
funny. By the way, your jacket, Nate, is just awesome. First of all,
thank you.
Yeah, so that's sick.
I got it from Disney World.
That's cool. And I mean, your guys' visuals, you set this up perfectly because I can see you both really well, and the quality is just amazing. My mom brought me to work. She works at Red Hat in downtown Raleigh. And I'm just sitting here in this conference room. The lights are off. So we're doing like a Skype interview for those listening. And I think it's just funny because I'm looking at myself like I'm like Emperor Palpatine or something. And I don't know, it just looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, and since you guys, so tell me real quick, what leagues are you a part of for high school debate, like your school?
Mm-hmm. We've competed in NCFL, National Catholic Forensics League, and TFA, Texas Forensics Association, and NSDA.
Okay, perfect.
We're hoping in a few years to compete in TOC, but that's a goal. That's not now.
Yeah, that's a stretch goal.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So out of all of the competitions you guys have been to, do you each have like a funny debate story that you could tell us? Because every time I interview someone that's done debate, and I see you smiling too, I know you do. We have, and I'll even share mine, and my listeners have heard it before, and I still get so mad about this, and I think you'll laugh too. But I want to hear yours. Every time I interview debaters about anything, I always ask for the funny stories because these are just completely worth telling. So do tell.
Right. So I don't know if this is my all-time favorite one. It might be. It's up there. But as far as recent stories go, so we for the first part of the season, we were running an Agombin K, and I had wrote most of the framework sections. So there's this one section on standards, and next to the little tag that says standards, just as a little dumb joke, I had put in there the phrase, "Bro, we win," and that's a fact. And it was just like a little joke, maybe to lighten some people's spirits as they're trudging through the files and trying to find the cards they need. And so at the last tournament, it was one of our novices' very first debate tournaments. And this novice, she's like an angel come down to earth straight from heaven. Like, she's just such a ray of sunshine. Okay. And she's just like this sweet little innocent novice. And in the
what a funny way of putting that.
And so in the middle of a round, Nate is helping her write her speech. And he's pouring through the files, and he just copy and pasted the standard section into her speech doc, and he didn't remove the "bro, we win and that's a fact" line. And I mean, it's an understandable mistake to make. I get it. But so in the middle of this round, our sweet little novice, who's her first debate tournament ever, she gets up and she goes, "On standards, bro, we win and that's a fact."
Oh no!
Because she'll read what I give her, and she's worried about learning how to spread and spreading well. So she's not really focused about what she's reading when it's the stuff that I've given her. So
you did this. Like, you copy pasted.
No, all right. This may have been me. Yes, it might have.
Oh my gosh, dude!
No, it was.
No, there's a high chance that it was me. So yeah, I copy pasted it. I gave her the file, and I just like, as she started the section that I gave her, and she read that, I just had this moment of, what have I done? She's really is like a sweet, innocent, wholesome child. And I just had her read, and she's reading it loud, aggressively trying to spread, "Bro, we win, and that's a fact." Boom. And it's just...
Imagine her listening to this right now. Like, I could just... Okay, so any other funny stories you want to tell?
Oh, let's see. Oh, there was one time where we were doing a practice round. Now, this was I think it was before you, because this was when I was doing PF. And we had one of our guys who was kind of just there to help out, figure out whether he wanted to do it or not. And so this was a practice round of PF. And so, new to debate, you always get flustered at some point. And so he had kind of where he had to read some analytics and then do some off the top of his head analytics. And so he didn't really know what to do. So all of a sudden, an idea sparks in his head. Well, I'll just say something crazy. So he starts arguing for eugenics in the middle of a practice round on immigration in sanctuary cities, and just kind of like the look on our coach's face.
Oh my gosh!
When he starts arguing for that, man, that was a while ago, and that was one of our like first actual practice rounds. So it's excusable because that was our first year of debate. That was when we were first getting and he's just like, all right, I have no idea what to do. I'm not going to panic here. I'm just going to start speaking and see what happens. He didn't end up continuing it. But yeah, that was one of our, maybe not necessarily funniest, but definitely uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
So I'll tell you mine, and I want to see how you guys react to this, if this is like typical or atypical, because this made me so mad. So we had a tournament in Durham, at Durham Academy, so that's like, it's not too far from Raleigh, maybe like half an hour or something. And I was in a round, I think it was about military aid in Yemen. I could be wrong. But, oh man, so I don't know what the resolution was, but my value was safety, right? And this kid comes in and I'm an LD, by the way, so it had a value. And this kid comes in and he just wants to attack the value head on, like with no context. So he comes in and I'm like, all right, fine. So he's like, what is safety? I define safety. And then he's like, okay, imagine this scenario. If every single person on the entire world was imprisoned in a jail cell, they would be safe, but that wouldn't be good, right? And I'm like, obviously, like that would not be good if everyone was imprisoned in a jail cell.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so safety's bad. I was like, that is the most idiotic application of a universal that I've probably ever heard in my entire debate career. And somehow the judge bought it. Like, they bought it. I spent like a minute and a half in rebuttal trying to explain how the entire world is not imprisoned. And nobody, like, she didn't buy it, and I completely lost that round, and I just don't know how that could happen. But yeah, that's my number one disappointment.
That's rough, man.
Definitely had some rough judges.
I feel like a lot of times judges are either hit or miss. You'll either get a fantastic judge, like gives a good RFD, really explains their decision, tried to be as objective as possible, and then at other times you'll get a judge that's like, I voted on the other team because they had nicer shoes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had in the last tournament, different round. I had a judge that one of her critiques or on our team was that I wasn't well dressed enough because I wasn't wearing a suit coat as well. So yeah, that judges can get.
And what is it, Ruth? You said the word RFD. What does that stand for? Because I've never heard that before.
Oh, sorry. Reason for decision. So basically,
I got it. Okay.
So on the ballot, judges.
The after round comments.
Okay, cool. So Ruth, I'm just correct me if I'm mistaken, both of you. Ruth, your favorite form of debate is policy, and Nate, you like public forum.
Well, okay. I think the topic, considering my first season. I've only had two seasons, actually more like 1.25. One season of PF and then my first season of policy. I'm really enjoying policy more than I did PF. I just have like a tad bit more experience with PF. But policy, actually getting my teeth sunk into it, there's so much more in it. There's so much. I think I enjoy policy more. Now, if I had to choose between policy and LD, because LD was what I originally wanted, but it's just our coach just doesn't know LD nearly as well as he does policy, and so we're just sticking with policy. I can't say on that because I think policy just for me isn't as fun as LD is, because I really enjoy getting into the philosophy and the ethics of it, and like you said, talking about values. That's something that I really enjoy. So I just straight up don't know how that would compare. It sounds more enticing, but just from the experience that I have, I enjoy policy more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if you ever get the chance to try out LD, I really think you're going to like it. I actually, when you were talking about that philosophy thing, it reminded me, I just did an interview with this one guy. He runs a meme page, but it's like a philosophy meme page on Instagram. It's called memes.philosophy. And I brought him on the show because I was like, look, we do philosophy in LD. This is relevant. Let's like just have a philosophical conversation.
Let's just have some fun talking about memes and philosophy.
Exactly. Let's just have some fun talking about memes and philosophy. And man, I'll just have to show you the episode. And that was also my first over the phone interview. So the audio was like, I was literally, I want to like give a demonstration, but I don't want to ruin the audio for this thing. I was right up on the microphone and it sounded terrible. But I think you guys would think that's funny because we had a whole conversation about that. But yeah, the philosophy is great. LD is great. There's a lot of different strategies to it. I think you would like it a lot. But I am going to leverage your guys' knowledge of policy a little bit because we currently don't have any policy debaters. So I want to know, like, in a brief summary, how do you write a K? Because we've never done that. And I know you could write Ks in different types of debate too. But what is a policy? Maybe you could go through like the format of a policy round and then tell us how to write a K.
Cool. Yeah. So in policy, there's 4 constructive speeches that are each 8 minutes, followed by 4 rebuttals that are each 5 minutes. So the AF gets up, delivers the first AF constructive, first affirmative constructive. The neg gets up, delivers the first negative constructive, then the second affirmative constructive, then the second negative constructive, and then the first negative rebuttal, and then the first AF rebuttal, and then the second negative rebuttal, and then the second AF rebuttal.
Wait, so how many minutes are those constructive speeches?
Minutes was 4 times 8, 32 minutes.
Wait, so every constructive speech is 8 minutes long?
Yeah.
And how long? And the rebuttals are 5?
Yes.
So that's a 62-minute round.
Yeah.
With delays and taking prep time and just kind of general clumsiness, rounds can last anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2 hours. If how much like
prep
flashing,
time?
You have 8 minutes of prep time.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious! What do you guys like? I've never heard of this. That's insane.
Forever.
On one hand, it is. Sometimes, tournaments are going late. It's like 11:30 and you're in a round and nothing is going right and it feels like the world is crumbling around you. But on the other hand, it's also really nice because you can really get into the nitty-gritty of the topic and the cards and the evidence. So that's really nice. But yeah, rounds are really long. Okay. And that can either be a really great thing or a really horrible thing sometimes. All
right, so I know I interrupted you, so keep going. So that's the structure of it. What are the different burdens and the Ks that we could look at here?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at the arms sales topic, a lot of some of the popular Ks for this topic are militarism, like the framework of like militarism and kind of how we view arms sales as like a military advantage and how we like the lens that we evaluate arms sales through is a militaristic issue, and we need to break away from like an industrial that industrial mindset. Another type of K that I'm not super familiar with is the security K, which I won't try to explain because I'm not super familiar with it. Okay. Obviously, capitalism K, cap Ks are there for every topic. We ran an Agamben K, a biopolitics K, for a while, which...
A biopolitics K?
Yeah, which was...
interesting.
But that might come out later in the season again if we get it rewritten. I don't know. We might take it out for a stroll again. There's a lot of Ks you can do, like fem Ks are kind of applicable to any topic. Queer theory Ks, I'm not super educated in, but I think those would be applicable to a lot of topics. K literature, honestly, if you can find some K literature that you understand, that you can work with, that you feel comfortable in, chances are you can probably apply something like it to the topic and make it work, because Ks kind of function in evaluating. Ks are something that's run by neg primarily, so it's about evaluating the mindset of the AF's argument, and it kind of steps back from traditional debate that says that the utilitarian impacts of what will happen if the AF's plan passes are bad, because maybe more people will die or these countries will get in a war. Ks most of the time take a step back and say the mindset that this the mindset of this argument is faulty and it needs to be evaluated because it's harmful for X, Y, and Z. And so they have something called an alt. It's basically a plan, except just for a K. It's called an alternative. And it basically just says there's a way that we can break out of this mindset, and there's a way that we can evaluate the AF through a better lens that doesn't cause the harms that we're talking about.
And then does the AF have to adopt that mindset and run with it for the rest of the round? Or do they just because if there's so much time left in the round, what exactly happens after someone runs a K?
Right. So there's a lot of different ways you can argue a K, but AF primarily will try to say, we don't violate, we aren't part of this mindset. We don't actually engage with the harms that they're talking about. Maybe they can say that this isn't actually as big of a problem as Neg is talking about, or maybe it is a problem, but our problems are worse and we have to address them first. So maybe you could say, militarism is a harmful mindset, but we have to address arms sales to Taiwan first because the impacts will happen sooner.
So it's weighing the mindsets on the resolution before you even go into the topic itself.
Yeah, kind of. They can also say perm. We can do what the K wants us to do at the same time is the plan. So the mindset that the alt that they want to engage in can happen in the same world as our plan. It can get pretty nuanced as far as the philosophy behind it and whether that's an accurate idea and whether the alt is a good idea. A lot of the arguments usually focus around the alt, whether maybe the alt is bad, the alt won't work, or the alt will be co-opted or something like that. So I think a lot of the argumentation happens around the alt and the mechanism of change that the K actually tries to implement.
Okay. And what are the parts of a K? How would you go about writing a new one if you had to do that?
Right. So there's so many different styles of K that it's kind of hard to answer. But if you're going to look at the traditional K that's maybe not performative, maybe it's just about cards, usually it'll have a link and it'll talk about this is what the AF does that engages in this bad thing, and this is the impact of what that AF's engagement in the problem is. This is what will happen if the AF's plan goes through. So maybe the impact would be something like structural violence or oppression. It could be something like that. And then the alt would be we need to reject the AF in favor of a different mindset that can better evaluate the problems of the AF or the problems that the resolution creates.
So it's not necessarily the negative team offering. So basically, they're offering a different affirmative approach.
Not really. They kind of, yeah, actually.
Okay.
They offer a different approach to evaluating the AF and how plans like the AF should be evaluated and dealt with in the future, if that makes sense.
Okay. So in a traditional policy round where nobody runs a K, I know the affirmative has a plan, right? And then the neg has to make a counter plan?
They don't have to make a counter plan. I mean, you probably should, because I think a counter plan is a really effective argument to make. But there's a lot of different things you can do. You can run a disadvantage, which basically just says this is a bad thing that will happen if AF's plan passes. If we stop arms sales to Taiwan, then this policy, for instance, the USMCA policy won't pass, and that leads to agricultural collapse, and that's bad. Okay. So it's something like that. It doesn't really, a DA itself, a disadvantage, doesn't offer a different plan of action. It just says this is a bad thing that will happen because of the AF.
And you can run multiple disadvantages?
Yeah. And a counter plan proposes an alternate solvency mechanism. So maybe a counter plan could say, yeah, we should stop arms sales to Taiwan, but there's a better way for us to do it. And then there's different arguments like procedurals you can run. So maybe you could say that the AF isn't actually adhering to the resolution. They're not topical, so they're not being fair. So we can't have this debate in the first place because they don't actually affirm something that falls under the umbrella of the resolution. But
okay. So it seems like to me that policy debate deals a lot more than other forms of debate with how to solve a particular problem rather than the problem itself, which is, I'm not saying that's like a bad thing. I'm saying that's different than, because like in an LD resolution, it's like, should we do this? Should we not? But policy is oriented towards finding, or like it's goal oriented. Like, how do we solve this specific issue? Is that accurate?
Yeah. I think so, for sure.
Okay. So that's interesting. Because like, I'm almost tempted to try it sometime. If I can find a tournament that has policy and like, is it partnered or is it solo?
It's partnered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
with two people?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have you guys ever heard of World School Debate?
Yeah, I have heard of it. I'm not super educated in it, but it sounds really interesting.
Actually, so our team is going to be going to, and I'll like, for Nate, I'll try to like give a short description about it. It's so weird. So there's 3 people on each team, or actually you can have up to 5, my correction, but only 3 speak, right? So there's 3 speakers. There's like a whole thing with like constructives and rebuttals like later on, so that's kind of consistent. But you can stand up in the middle of someone's speech and ask a question or make a statement. The speeches are pretty long too. Like, I know you guys are used to long speeches, but they're like relatively long. And so our team is going to debate World School format for the first time at Harvard in the spring, and then we're going to go to hopefully bring a couple of debaters to the Czech Republic, or I guess Czechia now it's called, to debate in the summer. That's the plan. So we're just going to like run with that. But yeah, it's such an interesting format too. So Ruth, you said you've heard of it. Have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't. I think it'd be really fun to try.
Sounds chaotic.
Dude, if I need to show you the slideshow that my coach put me through. Not put me through. That sounds terrible. That he presented to me about World School Debate, or like maybe I'll try to like find a video for you to watch or something, because it looks really fun. But it's also like just completely different than anything I've seen. So that's why. Anyway, that's why I was asking how many people were involved in policy, because after that whole paradigm flip, I couldn't be sure about 2 people anymore, or 2 or 1 person. So apparently there's 3 people that debate in World School Debate.
It sounds a lot like British parliamentary debate.
Yeah,
that's actually where it gets its roots from.
Okay.
Yeah, so it actually has a ton of traditions that are tied back to the British Parliament, and even the teams. Like, so the negative. Okay, no, it's not called this, but like the affirmative represents the proposition, and then the negative is the opposition. But in the British Parliament, it would be called Her Majesty or His Majesty's loyal opposition, because what they're doing is like putting out a plan, and then we want to see all the harms of it, so we just have an opposition to that, and we're trying to like discover truth about whether or not to implement it. So yeah, there's a lot of like cool traditions that are tied back to a real government that I think would be awesome to try out.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I'll try to send you something if you want to watch it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be really cool.
So we've covered a lot in this interview, and I'm also really glad to have a connection with you guys about policy debate, because it seems like you know a lot about it. And our team is like, we compete in such traditional leagues that we've gotten places without knowing how to cut cards. Like, I've never personally cut a card for evidence. And I've broken at regional tournaments for Dogwood, which gets you to the NSDA, like eventually if you earn enough points. I've gone to the National Coolidge Tournament, like Coolidge Cup, a couple times, and I've literally never cut a card. So, which is like, and people ask me, like, do you have a card? And I'm like, not necessarily. I don't necessarily.
There may be a chance.
Exactly. But, so I'm really glad we could actually reach out to you guys and learn a little bit about the nuances of policy and like, and just in general, just different types of debate. Because for my evidence, literally, I would just sometimes, like if I had it on paper, I would literally print out every article that I cited and have that, but nothing would be highlighted because I know you guys highlight stuff for like cutting cards. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like, there's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah. So, but I know, like, so debate at our school is an elective that you can choose. And our coach is going through how to actually cut cards now, so we're trying to adopt that so we can move forward in the future. Yeah. But Yeah, so the policy stuff's really interesting. And I think I'm going to try to end with this, too. I want to know both of your opinions on how to get good at debate or to get better at debate. Because I know a lot of, especially beginners, listen to this podcast because we like to outline. We have interviews with people like this, and we like to outline the basics of debate. Like, here's a basic LD case, public forum case, and all this stuff. So if someone's looking to get better at debate, what are your two thoughts, or your thoughts about how to improve your game?
Honestly, I think the best thing to do to practice is to watch other people do it and then try to implement what they do. Or not, I don't want to say copy, but you know, that's
yeah, but it's like
you,
learning from experts. Like in sports, you like watch sports players if you want to get better.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Like what I did to learn in my novice year, I would just go on YouTube and look up like TOC rounds, because people at TOC like are debate gods pretty much.
Really? I'm gonna write that down real quick.
Their rounds are just really, really fascinating to watch, and trying to maybe flow the rounds that you're watching and to see what kind of arguments they're reading, and then what I would do is like, okay, it's a DA that I'm vaguely familiar with. So I would listen to it, I would pause it, and I would write out some arguments that I would use to respond to it with. And then I would finish watching the video and see how the team in the round responded to it and compare it and see what I did and what they did and what worked, and see at the end of the round what worked. So I think a really helpful thing is just watching what other people do and learning from other people and talking to other debaters. Like at tournaments, just talk to people, see what other people are doing. You know, after a round, just, you know, try to make some friends, see what they're doing, see how their team works, see what they're doing. I mean, it's a good community building exercise, I guess. And it's also just fun to learn and be taught by other people that are also learning with you. And another thing, just do drills. If your coach tells you to do drills, just do them.
Yeah.
Like speed drills are not enjoyable for me whatsoever, but forcing myself to do them and forcing myself to like redo rebuttals from rounds that I lost and forcing myself to do speeches over again at home after tournaments it's a drag, but you can really tell the difference it makes. Like looking at the beginning of the season last year and how far I've come, it's really incredible just to see how much just practicing and doing little things will help you. And everybody progresses differently, of course, but just doing what you can and getting the experience you can is really, really valuable.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how I noticed something you said earlier about just going out and learning from people and making friends. The debate community is such a tight community. Like have you realized that? Because like when I go and meet new, like different debaters at different tournaments, like there's just this, we all hold that thing in common where we're all like learning new things. And what's really cool is there's so many nuances to debate as well that everybody knows something that someone else doesn't. Even at the most basic level, like your pathway through what different tournaments you've been through, even a novice could know something that a varsity member has not figured out yet. And I just think that is so cool. But yeah, it shows how like education and just like seeking knowledge really brings people together. And what do you think, Nate? What's your improvement pill?
I think kind of building off of what Ruth said at the end is just consistency. Because for we as people, whenever we find a hobby, we find something we enjoy, something new, we want to like put all of our passion in at the beginning, and then like, because it's like something new, something awesome, and we want to like put all of it in. But when we do that, when we put all of our energy in at the very beginning, well then after that beginning, it becomes so much easier to spittle out. And so like taking that passion that you have for something and spreading it out, even because for me, what it's come to is like, even if it's just, hey, just find another article and bookmark that article and look at it later. I try and do something every day related to debate. If it's something small, if it's something big, sometimes I just like can't bring myself to do a speed drill, so I'll just read through the case and like spread in my head. Because as long
spread
as
in your head, that's like a new motto.
Heck yeah, as long as you're doing something, as long as you are getting yourself to do something and being consistent about it. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be consistent. It's the whole idea of the journey of 1,000 steps starts with one. Is that you can't really, you're not gonna spend all of your passion in the first couple weeks and by the end of it be a debate god. that you
So
see
good.
on those YouTube videos. You've got to work your way up to that, and you've got to be willing to, because like for me, I like to schedule things out. I like to plan ahead. And so I'll try as best as I can to plan my steps ahead. What am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? What do I think I'll be able to do? And then kind of judge my progress, see if I'm getting better, and then kind of like that consistency. You won't, with that consistency, you won't notice the progress immediate. But then in a couple weeks or in a month or in half a year, you'll be able to look back on it, and that consistency will be able to show such a huge progress that you'll be thanking yourself. I have, even in just the few months that I've been doing policy this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really good. That goes for a lot of things in life too, just consistency and finding passion for something. And I really like your idea of spreading it out over time. Look, I actually just pulled this out of my bag. This is like my life wisdom notebook, and I'm going to write that down in there, because that's just a really good idea. Because people, I've noticed people do put a lot of passion into things and they just burn out over time. And I know how that feels like for myself too. It's just like it happens to everyone. But that's some really good insight. And I think that I'm also going to close on that, because that was just a great point. Thank you both for coming on this interview. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. I've learned a ton, believe me.
Oh yeah.
So
I've really enjoyed this. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This has been great. So everyone who's been listening to this, I hope you got something from this, because I certainly did. I learned a ton about policy debate and how debate even works in Texas, in a state that's not mine. So if you want to get in contact with us or ask us any questions, you can do so at whatsttheres@gmail.com. That's WHATSTHERES@gmail.com. Check out our website, www.whatsttheres.com. Or if you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit, you can do so at whatsttheres_. And until next time, work hard, speak well, and seek the truth.